Admiral Helena Chen stood motionless in Earth Central Command's dimly lit situation room, her weathered face illuminated by the holographic display. Countless eyes of junior officers fixed on her back, awaiting a reaction, a command, anything. On the massive central screen, New Montana colony burned. The Vrexian warships hung in low orbit like predatory insects, their hulls gleaming with bioluminescent patterns as energy weapons lanced downward. Defense shields, woefully inadequate ones the Concordat had generously allowed the human colony, shattered within seconds. Then the bombardment began in earnest. 50,000 human colonists, farmers, engineers, teachers, children, the youngest settlement in humanity's modest stellar holdings, barely 3 years established. The feed showed a school when the first plasma barrage hit. The children had been assembled in the courtyard, proudly displaying the Concordat's flag alongside Earth's, a mandatory gesture of respect for all human colonies. The transmission cut to static mid-scream. "Signal lost, Admiral," reported the communications officer, voice hollow. Chen's face betrayed nothing, though the ache in her clenched jaw had become familiar over decades of diplomatic service. For 200 years, humanity had maintained their careful position among the Galactic Concordat's 17 species. Humans were tolerated, perhaps even useful in certain contexts, but consistently undermined. Their colony requests denied, their trade routes restricted, their military capabilities monitored and rigidly limited. "Incoming transmission from the Concordat Assembly," Admiral, said her aide. "They're issuing a statement." The holo display shifted. Grand Archon Peltorak of the Meridian hive mind appeared, his elongated features arranged in what passed for solemnity among his kind. "The Concordat deeply regrets the unfortunate border dispute involving the human settlement designated New Montana. We have issued a formal reprimand to the Vrexian Empire for their disproportionate response to territorial incursion. Compensation negotiations will commence at standard." Chen's hand slashed through the projection, cutting the transmission. The situation room fell silent. In 2 centuries of spacefaring history, no human admiral had ever terminated a Concordat communication. The penalty for such disrespect was typically swift and severe. With deliberate movements, Chen unpinned the ceremonial Concordat insignia from her uniform collar, the symbol of humanity's place in the galactic order. She crushed it in her palm, then let the fragments fall to the floor. "Admiral," her aide whispered, eyes wide. Chen's hands trembled slightly, not with fear, but with rage barely contained after centuries of calculated subservience. "Lieutenant, clear the room," she ordered, voice unnervingly calm. When the last officer had departed, Chen's personal AI assistant materialized beside her desk. "Your biometrics indicate elevated heart rate, adrenaline spike, and pupil dilation, Admiral. Medical intervention recommended." "Override medical protocols," Chen said. "Security clearance. Thermopila." The AI's expression flickered. "Acknowledged, Admiral. Shall I place the call to the President?" Chen accessed a hidden terminal, entering a complex sequence that opened files classified beyond even presidential authority. "No," she replied. "Call Director Kepler on Mars. Authorization. Prometheus awakens." The AI hesitated. This command wasn't in its programming. "I'm sorry, Admiral. That protocol doesn't exist in any Earth defense directory." Chen smiled grimly. Exactly what we wanted everyone to think. She placed her palm against the terminal surface. DNA verification complete. A new communication channel opened, one that had existed for decades, hidden from the Concordat's constant surveillance. "Elias," she said when the secure channel established. They hit New Montana. No survivors. A moment of silence from the other end. Then, the red line. "Crossed. Begin launch preparations. I'm activating all sleeper agents." "Helena," Kepler's voice softened. "After this, there's no going back." Admiral Chen looked once more at the static-filled screen where, moments before, she had watched human children die. That's the point, Elias. Humanity's restraint ends now. The Martian sunrise painted the desert rusty gold as Admiral Chen's shuttle touched down. Dr. Elias Kepler awaited her arrival, a lanky figure silhouetted against the pink-hued sky. Wind whipped his gray hair as he stepped forward to greet her. "It's been too long, Helena," he said, clasping her hand firmly. 6 years, she replied. Not since the Europa installation went operational. Around them, the vast Martian landscape appeared barren and uninhabited, precisely as humanity had wanted it to seem. Concordat observers had always dismissed Mars as a sentimental relic, a struggling colony maintained for historical significance rather than strategic value. Kepler led her to what appeared to be an unremarkable patch of rusty soil. "Stand here," he instructed. As they positioned themselves, a faint vibration rumbled beneath their feet. The ground began to descend like a massive elevator, carrying them downward as a circular section of Mars' surface, kilometers wide, retracted with impossible silence. "Welcome to Olympus," Kepler said, his voice echoing in the vastness below. The cavern that opened before them dwarfed any human construction in history, an underground city stretching beyond sight. Thousands of personnel moved purposefully through the installation, working among technologies that shouldn't exist according to humanity's official technological registry with the Concordat. "The aliens believe these are religious retreats," Kepler explained as they descended. "We've cultivated that myth for generations. The strange energy signatures, explained away as meditation technologies. Their anthropologists find our spiritual practices charmingly primitive." Chen nodded. "The perfect cover. Who investigates a church?" The elevator stopped at a vast hangar where engineers tested sleek exo-armor that amplified human strength 100-fold. Scientists manipulated matter at quantum levels. Holographic displays showed similar facilities beneath Europa's ice and Venus's clouds. "How many personnel?" Chen asked. 93,000 across all facilities, everyone born and raised in the program. The Concordat has never known they exist. They approached the hangar's centerpiece, a sleek vessel that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, its obsidian surface rippling like liquid shadow. "The Nemesis," Kepler said, pride evident in his voice. "Our flagship. Reality-folding drives that bypass traditional FTL limitations. Adaptive quantum armor that analyzes attacking energy patterns and reconfigures to neutralize them. Targeting systems that can isolate specific genetic markers." Chen ran her hand along the impossible surface, feeling it respond subtly to her touch, almost alive. "How many ships do we have?" Kepler's eyes gleamed in the hangar's blue light. "Thousands, stationed throughout the solar system, disguised as asteroids, comets, space debris. Some have been in position for 50 years. And the Concordat never detected them. Not one. Their arrogance made it easy. They've always believed their sensor technology superior to ours. We simply designed our stealth systems to exploit the gaps in their perception." A young engineer approached, tablet in hand, hesitating before interrupting them. "Go ahead, Dr. Harrison," Kepler prompted. "Director, we've confirmed the Phyrexians are broadcasting the new Montana attack on their homeworld," she reported, visibly uncomfortable. They're presenting it as entertainment. Victory celebrations are scheduled across their major cities." Chen's jaw tightened as she imagined alien crowds celebrating the slaughter of human children. Something primal and cold settled into her expression. "You understand what launching the Prometheus Protocol means, Helena," Kepler said quietly. 2 centuries of careful planning. After this, the galaxy fundamentally changes. Chen looked around the cavern at the accumulated might of humanity's true potential, power developed in secret, while they'd smiled and bowed to alien diplomats, accepted scraps from the Concordat table, and endured countless humiliations. "Launch preparations begin now," she declared. "Contact all facility commanders. Activate all assets. It's time the galaxy learned who we really are." Kepler nodded once, then turned to the waiting staff. "You heard the Admiral," he announced. Operation Prometheus is now active. This is not a drill. Throughout the solar system, hidden installations hummed to life as humanity prepared to reveal its true face to the stars. The Grand Assembly Hall on Centauri Prime glittered with the combined wealth of 17 galactic civilizations. Crystalline chandeliers harvested from the singing caves of Meridia cast rainbow patterns across marble floors imported from quarries that had once been mountains on conquered worlds. Ambassador Julian Torres entered alone, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. For 23 years, he had represented humanity in this chamber. 23 years of diplomatic subservience, of swallowing pride as human requests were denied, human grievances dismissed, human lives devalued in the cosmic accounting of the Concordat. Today, he wore no ceremonial robes, only a simple black uniform bearing Earth's emblem. The absence of his Concordat insignia was immediately noticed. The human approaches without proper protocol, announced the Vrexian ambassador, mandibles clicking in amusement, perhaps to issue another complaint about our necessary border enforcement. Laughter rippled through the chamber. The Vrexian delegation was particularly jovial, still basking in their victory at New Montana. Torres approached the central podium, a breach of protocol that sent security drones swarming toward him. He ignored them, activating a small device as he reached the speaker's position. "Warning, unauthorized transmission detected," announced the chamber's eye. "What is the meaning of this?" demanded Grand Archon Peltorak, the towering Meridian representative. "I'm addressing all civilized worlds simultaneously," Torres replied calmly. Throughout settled space, on every ship, colony, and homeworld, all communication channels were suddenly hijacked. Torres's face appeared on billions of screens across thousands of worlds. For 2 centuries, he began, his voice conversational, yet carrying an undercurrent of steel. Humanity has endured your condescension, your restrictions, and your tacit approval of violence against us. The Vrexian ambassador rose, carapace flushing with anger. "Remove him immediately." As of this moment, Torres continued, ignoring the interruption, Earth declares full sovereignty outside Concordat oversight. Any aggression against human settlements will be met with overwhelming force. The Grand Archon leaned forward, multifaceted eyes narrowing. "Your species possesses neither the technology nor numbers to make such threats, Ambassador." Torres smiled thinly. "This is not a threat. This is not a negotiation. This is a courtesy call." He tapped his communicator once. Throughout the chamber, representatives' personal devices chimed with urgent messages from their homeworlds. On the main display, images appeared showing defense platforms, previously disguised as communication satellites humanity had generously provided decades ago, activating simultaneously in orbit around every Concordat capital. "Impossible," hissed the Ophidian representative. The Vrexian ambassador lunged toward Torres, mandibles extended in rage, only to freeze mid-motion. His personal shield, manufactured on Earth as a gift, deactivated with a soft chime, a previously hidden mechanism within it pressed against his throat. Similar scenes unfolded across the chamber as numerous alien technologies suddenly revealed their hidden purposes. The chamber descended into chaos as representatives discovered how thoroughly they had been infiltrated. "We've been planning this since your kind massacred our first contact team," Torres said quietly to the immobilized Vrexian. 200 years of patience. Consider what that reveals about our nature." The Grand Archon, normally the embodiment of Meridian calm, showed rare emotion. "You would risk galactic war." "No," Torres replied. "We would end it before it begins. Earth has maintained peace not from weakness, but from choice. That choice remains ours to make." He gestured toward the display showing armed platforms orbiting vulnerable worlds. "We could have activated these weapons at any time over the past 50 years. We chose restraint. Remember that when you consider your response." Torres turned to leave, then paused at the chamber entrance. "The Vrexian Empire will immediately withdraw all forces from human space. The massacre at New Montana will be acknowledged with formal reparations. You have 24 hours to comply." The grand doors closed behind him with a resonant thud that echoed like a death knell for the old order. In orbit above Centauri Prime, the first human warship decloaked, its impossible black hull absorbing starlight like a wound in space itself. Emperor Zexkaltar's throne room on Phyrexia Prime pulsed with bioluminescent anger. The massive chamber, carved from the exoskeletons of conquered species, trembled as the Emperor's rage manifested physically through the empathic architecture. Preposterous, he chittered, his carapace flushing crimson. The ornate trophies adorning his body, fragments of bone, scale, and chitin from 100 subjugated races, rattled with his movements. Humans dare to threaten the Phyrexian Empire. The messenger, still prostrate on the nutrient-rich floor, trembled. The human ambassador's ultimatum has been verified. Magnificent one. Our colonies report Earth defense platforms in orbit, previously undetected. Zexkaltar's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sound no non-Phyrexian had ever heard and survived. A bluff. Clever vermin, nothing more. He gestured to his war minister. Deploy the Annihilation Fleet. Broadcast their destruction to all systems. Let this be a lesson. Within hours, the largest Phyrexian armada ever assembled surged toward the Sol system. 500 warships, each capable of sterilizing a continent. Their hulls, evolved rather than constructed, rippled with biological weapons designed to cause maximum suffering before death. Admiral Chen waited at Neptune, her small command of just 3 visible vessels positioned at the system's edge. Phyrexian fleet approaching Neptune's orbit. Admiral, reported her tactical officer. They're maintaining combat formation. Chen nodded calmly. Right on schedule. A communication request flashed on her command console. She accepted with a gesture. Admiral Krovash appeared on screen, his mandibles spread in the Phyrexian expression of amused contempt. Human Admiral, your resistance is noted for our historical records. Surrender now, and we may preserve a few of your kind as curiosities. Chen didn't respond verbally. She simply nodded once to her communications officer. Throughout the seemingly empty space around Neptune, energy signatures bloomed like silent flowers. What the Phyrexians had dismissed as asteroids, comets, and space debris shimmered and transformed. 300 human vessels materialized in perfect formation, surrounding the Phyrexian fleet in a 3-dimensional cage. On the Phyrexian flagship, alarms screamed as sensors detected the impossible. Tactical assessment, demanded Krovash. Unknown, Admiral. Their ships weren't there, and then. The tactical officer's exoskeleton paled. They've completely encircled us. Before the Phyrexian fleet could reorient, Chen gave a single command. Activate Prometheus Protocol Alpha. Across the Phyrexian fleet, weapons systems began to dissolve at the molecular level. Propulsion arrays froze. Communication systems melted into useless slag. Ship after ship reported critical failures as the invisible attack reduced their technological advantage to nothing. Fear, an emotion rarely experienced by Phyrexians, spread through the fleet as they realized they were completely immobilized. Chen opened a channel to all Phyrexian vessels. Her face appeared on every functioning screen. 200 years ago, she began, her voice calm and measured. We sent our first peaceful delegation to your homeworld. Your emperor had them skinned alive and mounted their remains in his trophy halls. The silence on the Phyrexian command deck was absolute. Your civilization taught us something valuable that day. Appear weak when you are strong. We've appeared weak for 2 centuries, studying your technologies, finding their flaws, developing countermeasures for every weapon in your arsenal. Her voice hardened. That pretense ends today. With a gesture, she ordered precision strikes on all but one Phyrexian vessel. The attacks weren't aimed to destroy, but to disable, cutting through command decks with surgical precision, eliminating the leadership while leaving most crew alive. Your remaining vessel is free to return home with recordings of what transpired here, Chen continued. Consider this mercy, something your kind has never shown. And consider this, what you witnessed today was less than 1% of our true capability. The last functional Vrexian ship, systems partially restored, broke formation and accelerated away from Neptune. Was that wise, Admiral? Asked her XO quietly. They'll prepare countermeasures. Chen watched the fleeing vessel on the tactical display. Let them try. Meanwhile, every species in the galaxy now knows the truth. Humanity has been awake and watching all along. The Galactic Concordat's emergency session erupted into chaos as the footage from Neptune played on the central holographic display. The massive chamber, normally governed by rigid protocol, descended into shouting, threats, and the biological displays of agitation unique to each species. The recordings must be falsified, insisted a Deveran elder, his ancient voice quavering. Humans lack the technological capacity for such feats. Tell that to the 500 Vrexian ships that no longer respond to hails, countered the Tellurian ambassador, her crystalline form shimmering with emotion-indicative patterns. The Tellurian stood, a bold move that silenced the chamber. The Tellurian Collective formally recognizes Earth's sovereignty and offers immediate alliance. Gasps and hisses filled the chamber, but before accusations of treason could be hurled, the serpentine Ophidian spokesman rose as well, scales flaring in determination. We have watched humanity endure centuries of disrespect with dignity, he hissed. The Ophidian consortium chooses to stand with them. The chamber erupted again, various delegates calling for sanctions against the defectors. Meanwhile, on their ancient homeworld, the Meridian hive mind, the oldest spacefaring civilization, connected billions of consciousness nodes in emergency consensus. Engineers began retrofitting defense systems based on what little they had observed of human capabilities. Their venerable Archon, who spoke perhaps once per century, addressed the full hive. We have miscalculated profoundly. The humans have been among us for 2 centuries, yet we never truly saw them. On Vrexia Prime, the lone surviving vessel from the Neptune disaster limped into orbit. Its captain was immediately executed for cowardice, despite the irrefutable evidence he brought. Emperor Zex Kaltar, rage overriding reason, mobilized their remaining forces, still the largest armada in the galaxy. Humans are clever vermin, nothing more, he chittered to his war council. We will crush them through sheer numbers. In her quarters aboard the Nemesis, Admiral Chen received the intelligence reports streaming in from across the galaxy. The Concordat splintered exactly as predicted, with the more pragmatic species seeking alliance while the aggressive ones prepared for conflict. She opened a secure channel. Phase Omega is go. Authentication. Thermopila. Across human space, the encrypted message propagated. The stars are watching. Throughout the galaxy, seemingly ordinary individuals received the signal. A Vrexian dockworker on a military installation paused mid-task, eyes focusing on something distant. An Ix crystal programmer inserted a subtle but critical flaw into defense code. A Meridian nutrient technician adjusted ratios in a way that would gradually degrade reaction times. Human operatives, surgically altered to pass as various species, had been embedded throughout galactic society for generations. Some were 5th-generation agents, born to their roles, their true nature unknown even to themselves until activation. In her command center, Chen watched the data streams with grim satisfaction as sabotage operations unfolded with surgical precision. Strategic weapon caches exploded, defense systems crashed, command ships lost power at critical junctures. Humanity had long known that in any direct confrontation, they would be outnumbered. Their solution was elegant: be everywhere, know everything, and strike only when victory was assured. Admiral, her communications officer interrupted. Secure channel from Earth. The President is requesting an update. Chen straightened her uniform and accepted the call. President Aisha Rahman's face appeared, her expression grave. Admiral, I'm receiving reports of widespread action across multiple sectors. The Concordat is in disarray. As anticipated, Madam President, the Tellurians and Ophidians have already declared for us. The Phyrexians are mobilizing for war. Raman's eyes narrowed. Casualties. Minimal so far. Our operational philosophy remains intact. Maximum impact, minimal loss of life. The President nodded slowly. We're about to face the most dangerous hours in human history, Admiral. Some species will ally with us. Others will fight to the last. That was always expected, Madam President, Chen replied. But make no mistake, after today, the galaxy will never underestimate humanity again. The Carina Transit, a narrow corridor of stable spacetime that provided the only viable faster-than-light route to Sol, swarmed with the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. The Phyrexian armada formed its core, their biological warships pulsing with weapons grown rather than built. They were joined by the crystalline high ships of the Ix Collective, their faceted hulls refracting starlight into deadly spectra. The planet-cracking Tharsis dreadnoughts rumbled alongside, each carrying enough firepower to shatter a small moon. The viral swarm vessels of the Morrigan Unity writhed in formation, while the ancient world ships of the Deveran Remnant brought up the rear, their technology predating human civilization itself. Over 12,000 vessels carrying weapons capable of rendering Earth uninhabitable 1,000 times over. On the Phyrexian command ship, representatives of the 5 allied species performed their war rituals. Admiral Krovash, newly promoted after the previous fleet commander's execution, addressed them from a command podium grown from his own genetic material. The humans have clever tricks and deceptions, he chittered, mandibles spread wide. But they cannot stand against our combined might. Today, we end their insolence forever. Aboard the Nemesis, now revealed as humanity's flagship, Dr. Kepler worked feverishly at a quantum terminal. Sweat beaded on his brow as he manipulated mathematical constructs that few minds in the galaxy could comprehend. The calculations must be perfect, he muttered as Admiral Chen watched impassively. We've never attempted dimensional anchoring at this scale. The terminal chimed completion. Kepler looked up, his eyes reflecting complex equations. Ready. Chen nodded once. Execute. Across the massive enemy armada, sensors detected an impossible energy signature blooming throughout the transit corridor. Space itself seemed to shudder, rippling like disturbed water. Kepler activated the Prometheus protocol's most closely guarded capability, dimensional anchoring. The fabric of reality stiffened around the alien fleet, suddenly altering the physical constants that allowed faster-than-light travel. As the Armada began its advance, their FTL drives engaged and failed catastrophically. Hundreds of ships crashed into each other as relativistic physics reasserted itself violently, momentum carrying them forward while space refused to bend. Panic spread as tactical officers across 5 species realized they were trapped in normal space. Weapons free, Chen ordered quietly. Before the enemy could regroup, 300 human vessels decloaked directly within the immobilized formation. Their positions had been calculated to surgical precision, each appearing in the exact blind spot of enemy sensor arrays. What followed wasn't combat but execution. Each human ship targeted specific command vessels, their weapons bypassing shields as if they weren't there. Beams of coherent energy, invisible until they struck their targets, severed command decks from support structures with micrometer precision. Within 6 minutes, the entire leadership structure of the enemy fleet was eliminated. Open a channel to all vessels, Chen commanded. Her face appeared on every functional screen across the Armada, most of which were now in disarray without commanders. This is Admiral Helena Chen of Earth. Your commanders are dead. Your faster-than-light capabilities are neutralized. You cannot escape, and you cannot win. Withdraw your forces to these coordinates and power down all weapon systems, or be destroyed. You have 30 minutes. In the ensuing chaos, a young Phyrexian weapons officer named Kex Vorin seized command of a dreadnought. His carapace flush with determination, he rallied nearby ships. The humans are bluffing, he broadcast. They cannot destroy us all. They lacked the numbers. 23 ships broke formation, accelerating toward the Nemesis in a desperate charge. Chen watched the tactical display impassively. Some lessons must be taught more firmly than others, she said quietly, and gave a single command. Atomize. The rebellious ships simply vanished, converted to their base atomic components in an instant. Where warships had been, only expanding clouds of particles remained. The remaining alien vessels began their retreat immediately, hailing frequencies overwhelmed with surrender protocols. Coordinates received from 11,437 vessels, Admiral, reported the tactical officer. They're complying. Chen nodded, her expression unchanged. Phase 1 complete. Begin Phase 2. 3 months after the Battle of Sagittarius, representatives from 23 spacefaring civilizations gathered aboard Earth's orbital diplomatic station. The massive structure, once derided as humanity's quaint attempt at galactic architecture, now revealed itself as a marvel of engineering that had concealed its true capabilities for centuries. The signing ceremony for the new interstellar cooperative marked the official dissolution of the Galactic Concordat. For the first time, many alien dignitaries set foot in human space with something other than condescension. The Tellurian ambassador, her crystalline form refracting the artificial light, examined the station's central chamber with newfound respect. "You built this station 4 centuries ago," she chimed melodically, "yet kept its true capabilities hidden all this time." Ambassador Torres smiled thinly. "Everything humans build serves multiple purposes, Ambassador. A lesson the galaxy has learned rather dramatically." Across the known universe, profound changes rippled outward from humanity's revelation. Former enemies made cautious diplomatic overtures. Trade routes reopened under fair terms. Human colonies, no longer restricted to marginal worlds, began to flourish in resource-rich systems previously denied them. On Vrexia Prime, the trophy halls displaying human remains were quietly dismantled. The official explanation: renovation for historical accuracy. The public narrative spread across all worlds. A new era of cooperation and mutual respect had begun. Behind closed doors, the reality was starker. A galaxy coming to terms with humanity's true nature and power. In the secure depths of Earth's Security Council chamber, Admiral Chen and Dr. Kepler delivered a troubling briefing to President Raman and her cabinet. 3 months ago, we revealed some of our capabilities, Chen began. As expected, certain species have begun developing countermeasures. Holographic evidence materialized above the conference table. The crystalline X collective harvesting exotic particles from neutron star coronas. The ancient Deverans constructing massive research installations within the shadows of black holes. Kepler pointed to energy signatures that shouldn't be possible given known physics. The X are attempting to replicate our dimensional anchoring technology. The Deverans appear to be researching quantum countermeasures to the Prometheus protocol. They're afraid, Chen added, her eyes hard. And fear makes them dangerous. The council debated for hours. Some advocated preemptive strikes against these research facilities, eliminate the threat before it materialized. Others argued for diplomatic approaches, sharing limited technological insights to build trust. President Raman, who had lost her sister and nieces on New Montana, finally spoke after listening to all arguments. "We've spent centuries being underestimated," she said quietly. "Now we face the opposite problem. We're being overestimated. They believe we want vengeance, that will become the very thing we've resisted becoming." She stood, moving to the window overlooking the rebuilt New Montana Memorial Gardens. "They think our restraint was a deception, when in fact it was our defining choice, made daily for 200 years, despite every provocation." Raman turned back to the council. "I am authorizing Operation Lighthouse." Kepler's eyebrows rose. "Madam President, are you certain? Those technologies weren't intended for sharing? No, but perhaps for demonstrating." She smiled. "Not our weapons, but our dreams." Within weeks, human ships deployed to neutral systems across the galaxy. But rather than weapons demonstrations, they performed feats of technological transcendence. Instantaneous matter transportation across vast distances. Gravity manipulation that transformed asteroid fields into harmonious patterns. Directed evolution that transformed barren worlds into garden paradises in hours instead of millennia. These aren't threats, Raman explained to an audience of billions across thousands of worlds. They're warnings of a different kind. Humanity could have used these powers for dominance. Instead, we offer them as proof of what cooperation might achieve. She paused, her expression solemn yet hopeful. Humanity will not strike first, but neither will we ever be vulnerable again. The choice is yours. Fear us as enemies, or join us as equals. 3 years after humanity's emergence as a galactic power, the Ix collective leadership convened in their crystal citadel orbiting a dying star. First Prime X0, a being of living crystal whose age was measured in millennia, addressed the assembled Facet Council. The calculations are conclusive. X0's harmonic voice resonated through the chamber. Our quantum disruptors can neutralize the human Prometheus field. Across their fleet, crystalline ships bristled with weapons that bent reality itself. Technology reverse-engineered at tremendous cost from scattered fragments of human capabilities observed during the Sagittarius conflict. The humans have grown complacent in their perceived invulnerability, continued X0. Their demonstrations of technology have revealed critical operational parameters. The tactical projection hovered between them, a direct strike at Earth itself. 50 X-world ships, each a city-sized weapon, would emerge from fold space simultaneously, overwhelming defensive systems through sheer simultaneity. We strike at their heart. Once their homeworld falls, the legend of human invincibility dies with it. Without warning or declaration, the attack commenced. 50 X-world ships tore through the fabric of space-time, emerging in perfect formation above Earth. Their quantum disruptors fired instantly, expecting to shatter human defenses like glass. Instead, their energy dissipated harmlessly against Earth's atmospheric shield. In her command center beneath the Himalayas, Admiral Chen, now Supreme Commander of Earth Defense, watched the attack unfold with clinical detachment. Interesting approach, she commented as her staff reported defensive systems holding at 100%. They actually thought we'd reveal all our capabilities during the Phyrexian conflict. The Ix vessels attempted to reposition, to bring secondary weapons to bear, only to find themselves suddenly immobilized in Earth orbit, caught in fields they could neither detect nor comprehend. Open a channel to the Ix flagship, Chen ordered calmly. The crystalline visage of X0 appeared on the main screen, facets reflecting confusion, and the alien equivalent of fear. Impossible, the crystalline being chimed. Our calculations were perfect. Chen could give the order that would shatter the Ix fleet into component atoms. The casualties from such an action would number in the millions. Ix vessels contained entire communities. Her staff watched, awaiting the command that would end the threat permanently. Instead, she made a different choice. You will power down all systems. Representatives of your Facet Council will then accompany me to Mars. These terms are non-negotiable. Hours later, the Ix leadership, their crystalline forms shimmering with nervous energy, were escorted deep beneath the Martian surface. The elevator descended for far longer than should be possible on a planet of Mars size. They emerged into a vast chamber that appeared to extend beyond the physical boundaries of the planet itself, a space that somehow existed both within and outside normal dimensions. Dr. Kepler greeted them. Welcome to where it all began. The chamber housed technology beyond even the Prometheus protocol, machines that manipulated the fundamental constants of physics, energies that danced between dimensions, biological engineering that transcended the boundary between life and non-life. At the center stood a simple holographic projection of the Milky Way. Chen gestured, and thousands of points illuminated throughout the galaxy. Human ships, stations, and installations that had never been detected. We could have conquered the galaxy a century ago, She told the stunned Ix delegation, "What you've witnessed is not the limit of our capabilities. It's the limit of our restraint." The eldest Ix, its crystalline form ancient and wise, chimed softly. "Why show us this? Why not simply destroy us as an example?" Chen's expression softened slightly. "Because that's what your kind would do. That's what the Phyrexians would do. That's what most species would do." She deactivated the hologram. "But humans remember being vulnerable. We remember being hunted. We remember being afraid." As the Ix delegation prepared to depart, their first prime approached Chen privately. "Your species is terrifying," the crystalline being chimed softly. Chen smiled. "No, what's terrifying is that despite everything we've endured, we're still choosing peace. But make no mistake." Her eyes hardened. "Humanity's restraint is a choice we make every day. And today, we're reminding the galaxy of that fact." The end.